have the conversation going on. Isaac Gatundu, an addiction counselor, is joining us today, and he's been telling us about his own story. And we also have so many questions, counselor Isaac.
Yes.
I can't even believe someone can admit to the things you've admitted to. But how do you know when there's a problem? Or how did you tell us about your rock bottom? And it's not an aha moment when you decided, I have a problem, I need to do something about it. And how we also can tell whether this is something that is a growing concern.
Yes.
Please speak to us.
After being discharged from the military, I thank God I had supportive parents. They didn't give up on me.
Yeah.
So they sponsored me to try local universities because I had performed well, above average. I started with KCA. I went to do CPA accounts.
Yeah.
But in the midst of just the first week, I realized behind KCA, I think is Huruma. And there were a lot of wine shops.
Wow.
So I stopped going to class. So I used to go and drink. Then at some point, I realized I'm using a lot of fare to come all the way from Thika town to survey. Pesa, see, I can just drink it, I can invest it in my drinking career.
Because you're losing so much money.
I'm losing so much money, and there's nothing I'm going to do in class. So I didn't even do my first semester. I stopped going to school.
Wow.
Now I'm like seriously in drinking. But every time, every day I'm coming from home. My parents know I'm going to college, but when I get out of home, I just used to go to the drug dens and all that. So after I dropped out from KCA, I also tried to go to Hazina Towers. There was this Shang Tao thing. At some point, I told my dad I want to be a DJ, so he took me to Shang Tao.
Ndio mnaharibia ma DJ jina. Akina Absolute are just minding their business.
But then it was just insanity, a lot of insanity. Then
but your parents kept giving and giving and trying.
And by that time they didn't know this son of ours.
What were they thinking? Unaekelewa?
They were just thinking maybe
those are the follies of youth.
Maybe someday, tomorrow, he will come to his senses, you know. So they kept trying. Then at some time in 2005, they decided, let us take him out of this environment. So by that, I don't know about nowadays, but by then, education in India was a bit cheap. It was a bit cheap than the parallel programs and all that. So they took me to a university in southern India.
They still, after Shang Tao and KCA.
They took me.
You better love your parents.
They took me to Madras University, southern India. I went to do biochemistry. But then even in India, remember the problem is already in me.
You are the problem.
I'm the problem.
You are the problem.
I'm the problem. So it's not the environment. To them, they are taking me out of the environment.
Because the Kenya problem is, the joy has been left in Kenya, the drink.
But the problem is Isaac.
But they also could not admit to it.
They didn't know.
Okay.
So Isaac went to India in 2005. And also in India, when I landed, the first place I looked for
was a bar.
Was a drink. Where do I get drink? Where will I be buying my weed? And India was the best place because there's a lot of drugs. The liquor is cheap. Cost of living is cheap. You
were in heaven.
I was in heaven.
An addict's heaven.
An addict's heaven. Then at the same time, there were very many Kenyans who had lost track in that place. So they were just doing drugs.
The parents sent money, a school fees, and upkeep.
So at the same time, I got the right group by then. It was the right group.
You seemed to find your way everywhere you went. You really, wow.
So even in India, I didn't because the course I was doing biochemistry, every afternoon we used to go to the lab. So in the lab, Isaac is there drinking ethanol.
What?
Doing chloroform,
Yeah.
sniffing chloroform, anything that could just make me high.
Yeah, a quick, cheap high.
Something, yeah. So I'm just there in the lab. I'm just laughing,
Yeah. And do you know what we normally think? Like when someone hears this, that could never be me.
True.
That could never be me. Like I would never reach there. I have my foot on the brake. I can press stop anytime.
True.
What would you tell someone who is at that stage where you are yet to admit that you have a problem, Isaac?
We usually see alcohol is baffling, powerful, and cunning. If you are at a stage where maybe you are messing up, you started messing up. Missing
appointments, getting late, disappointing people, saying you'll do things and not doing them.
Actually, we call it... addiction comes in stages.
Tell us about the stages.
The stages.
Yeah, I know we have 15 minutes left.
Okay. It comes, actually, addiction, you'll give me more time. We can come up with a plan on how to go to, because it's like complex.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go to the stages.
Yeah.
We have the first stage, which we call the experimental stage, or the experimental use.
That we all assume in our heads is where we are stuck eternally, right?
True, yeah. This is the initial stage. This is where you first taste the alcohol or the drug, so it's not like a big deal. But again, it depends on why are you using it. Why are you using it?
Because it's fun, Isaac.
It's very fun, So after the experimental stage, we have the second stage, which is the social using. Social using, at this stage you are just using socially, there's no problems, just social using. But again, it depends, why are you using? It still depends. Why are you using? You remember, I've started by saying I was using to cover up my maybe my insufficiencies or
your shortcomings.
My shortcomings. So after the social use, now these are the stages of addiction. We have the third stage, which is called instrumental stage. At this stage, now the social aspect is out. There's no social aspect, no longer social aspect in your using. Now, instrumental mean that you are purposefully using to manipulate your feelings and behavior.
Now using it as a crutch. When you are sad, when you're angry, when you're lonely.
When you want to express yourself, when you want to maybe talk to girls like Isaac, you want to...
niko na stress, job.
Niko na stress, a relationship may fail, I need to deal with Yolanda tonight, This is the instrumental stage. And now at this stage, this is where other people start noticing you have a problem. At this stage, other people start noticing, hey, Yolanda has a problem with the alcohol. Drinking. Because you start even changing your habits. Maybe you had a hobby. Maybe you used to go to the gym, but all of a sudden you are done with that.
And even taking care of yourself. Sometimes even the grooming takes...
There's no grooming.
Now there's no shame.
There's no shame. You
are just there.
You change your peer group. You used to hang out with people who are just drinking 1 beer, 2 beers, then they are gone. But now you can no longer fit there. Because you can no longer drink 1 beer, 2 beer. You need a bote. You need to be at the bar till morning. You need to drink all,
So you need someone who also doesn't have anything else to do.
Yes. Someone who is in your shoes. Someone who will not judge you. At this stage, people start borrowing money. You didn't have that habit of borrowing money, such kuya habits. But all of a sudden, you have started borrowing money. You have started hiding alcohol in your drawer at work, Watu wakienda lunch, we uko huko unapiga.
Umeweka kwa coffee flask.
Such things. So at this stage, instrumental stage, other people start noticing. Because even your work, if it's your performance, it starts going down. If it's school, there's no more school and all that, Then after the instrumental stage, you go to the habitual stage. Now it becomes a habit. You have to drink. You are just drinking now. It has become a career now. It's just drinking everywhere, drinking, Even when you don't need to drink, you are just drinking. Then the last stage
Ikaw
now,
unani-describe but unani-describe December. Unani-describe only the month of December. Because December, we just drink.
Yeah.
There's parties everywhere, end of year parties. You're called for kanyama. You go and eat. There's a barbecue. But
even where you don't need to drink, you are drinking. You are going for a burial. You need to carry your kafix somewhere, you know. Then after this stage now we get to the last stage, which is compulsive use.
Yeah.
Which is addiction.
That you're drunk in the morning. Because now let me tell you about the person I'm telling you, my brother.
Yes.
You would meet Matthew and he's drunk. I'm like, dude, it's 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And he's not from the rave.
Yes.
It's not Yajana. That was now when I was like, maybe there's a problem. Because before you're like, oh, maybe his dad, Rasta, is just being hard on him. Just leave him. He just likes drinking more than we do. He's like, no, this boy has a problem.
Yes.
Yeah, this boy has a problem. You can't be drunk during the day.
Yeah. So this is the compulsive stage.
Yeah.
Where you live to drink and you drink to live. You no longer have control over your actions. You no longer have control over your behavior. You know, as in your life is just unmanageable, irresponsible. There's nothing you can do. You cannot, if you are married, you cannot keep.
And there's no shame.
There's
you can
no
just
shame.
Be sleeping. Someone finds you at your gate, sleeping, and you're fine.
There is no shame. Even before your children, for those who are married, there's no shame. You can do anything. There is no shame. There is no limit. There is no boundary. As in, this person now is deep in addiction. And that's why I was saying, when I went to India, I didn't even do my first semester. Luckily, my sister was there also. The one I follow was there also. So she was reporting back home
to your
everything
parents.
that is going on. So I dropped out from the first university. I went to another university.
Because that university was the problem.
Yeah, not me.
The first one.
Yes, not me. So I went to do BA.
What? You are changing
after
courses,
biochemistry, now
schools.
I'm going to do BA.
Yeah.
But even in that uni, it's the same insanity. Actually, addiction is insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. But there's no different results because it's insanity.
We like to tell ourselves that it's a disease, and there's people who have, because Absolute and I can be drinking every day, and Absolute can show up to work and maybe function, and maybe I will destroy my. Are there people who are genetically predisposed to being addicts?
You come
Ama hizo ndio vitu tunajiambianga tukiwa na those are the things we tell ourselves.
You come to something we call causes of addiction.
Yeah.
The first one is genetic predisposition. There are people who are genetically predisposed to addiction.
Pombe ulevi iko kwao. Have you ever had those things?
Kwa line.
Kwa hii familia yao wanapenda pombe.
And it is very common. It is
this
very
family,
common.
the uncles, the grandparents, they used to.
Yeah.
So those are not bad talk. That's not bad talk. It's true.
It's true. And what happens actually, if it was my dad who was drinking, my dad used to drink, but he was not an addict or an alcoholic.
Yes.
But he used to drink. When he drinks, he will drink.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to me, when it passes to the next generation, it comes like times 10.
Yeah. You refine it. You do it more.
It becomes worse. That's how it works.
There are people in this office. Can you see people are gravitating towards us? You can see behind you. There are people who are coming close to the screen. Just preach. You are preaching to an audience. You have people you are speaking to. Others in this room, maybe.
So there's that genetic predisposition, and that's why you find that like me. There are people, there are friends I used to drink with, even in high school when I started drinking. There are people I used to drinking even in the military and everywhere else, but they did not get into addiction. Yeah. But for me, because I was predisposed, genetically maybe predisposed, and I also had other underlying issues. That's why my addiction, it became very bad. It became very, very bad, and my life became unmanageable, irresponsible. It was just 18 years of failure after failure after failure. 18 years, because I managed to quit by the grace of God in 2018. And you see, I finished my Form 4 in 2001.
Yeah.
I've quit alcohol 17 years.
Oh, do you
As
know
in
how much
all
money
my
that
youth.
is? Okay, me, that's how I calculate everything in money. I'm like, hey, this money, I could use it to do this or that. You would have built a house in Thika, a building, and you'd be taking rent.
Actually, I quit at 35. 2018, I was 35.
Yeah.
That's when I quit. So at 35, when I was looking back, I've
Yeah.
lost 17 years.
Yeah.
I cleared my Form 4 in 2001.
Yeah.
So that child who started class 1 in 2002,
Yeah.
after I have cleared, he did his 8 years, then his 4 years. He has already finished university.
And you are drinking.
They are working.
Yeah.
Some are even married.
Yeah. You are
but I'm
drinking.
still drinking.
Oh my God.
So addiction is very devastating. It has a lot of devastating effects,
Yeah.
not only to the individuals, but also to the families and to the society as a whole.
We don't do this, but I can see there's so many people online who are tuned in for this conversation. If my producer will allow me, if we're all on the same page, I'll play a song, we'll have news, and then we'll come back with him for the first quarter of the next hour. Hey. Kweli watu wanapenda pombe kwa hiyo ofisi. We have never had a guest past 1 hour, but it is what it is. Kuna mtu hapa anafanya building. DJ Absolute, building. You are probably the same. You have the same money as Jimmy Wanjigi. How will you know? If you keep drinking, it's all away. So Isaac Gatundu is going to stay on with us. He's an addiction counselor. We're going to head on to the news in 5, and then we'll be back with your questions. And he can wrap it up for us. He can tell us where his rehabilitation center is, and he'll give us his contact details, because I know you have a problem, and he's here to help. Sawa?